Hey everybody, this is the Sliders Review, and I'm here today to talk to you about Secrets of Sulphur Spring Season 2, Episode 1, Only Time Will Tell. Oh my god, I nearly almost forgot about this show. I knew they got renewed for a Season 2 like early last year, but I completely forgot that it was supposed to come out in 2022. Until I looked it up last night, I was like, hey, whatever happened to that show I was talking about? Because see, I thought the only show on Disney Channel I watched was Bunked, but I completely forgot about this. And then I saw, like, the season started, like, last week. I'm like, ah! So, the first two episodes, okay, so here's the thing. This was supposed to be a Disney Plus show, but for whatever reason, they put it on Disney Channel, which always surprised me. Come on, like, okay, this show's a little creepy, eerie and stuff. That's not really Disney's formula, except for like, So Weird back in the 90s. And so, like, so they put it on Disney Channel, and it sucks because I have Disney Plus, which the first season's on there, but since the second season is now in production, you have to wait until the season's over with. I don't have cable because I think it's dumb to pay for cable and pay for all these streaming sites. So I use the Disney Now app, but they only have the first episode on there, even though the first and the second one appeared in the same night. What's also frustrating is that the Disney Now app, sometimes they have episodes locked. So I won't be able to watch or review this until the end of the season when it's on Disney Plus. Unless I can find it someplace else, which I doubt I can. Because normally it used to be on YouTube, but you know, people upload it illegally on YouTube, so you know. So yeah, I was totally shocked and surprised. I'm like, oh crap, the show is back on. I could not wait to watch it. Man, they have creeped up the creepy factor in this show. Now, season 1 was good, but I always felt the season 1 was a little safe, a little tame and everything. And then when the big reveal happened, it's all like, oh, Savannah ain't no ghost. Well, boy, they amped up the creepy factor in this season. With the music, the atmosphere, the ending, oh man. And since this show, because the first season came out like in 2020, the kids, of course, now have gotten slightly bigger, so it's a little jarring to see them being so young and tiny in the first season and them slightly taller, and voices are changing in this second season. Griffin and Savannah voice, those two are the biggest like age change because they're a little taller and the voice is getting a little deeper. Now, the actor who played Topher in the first season, he has now been recast for some reason in the second. It's a little confusing because when you watch this first episode, they show a recap of what happened last season and they show the original Topher actor. So now in this first episode, they mention him a lot, but they don't show him. But online it says he has been recast. So what happened in this episode? Well, first let's recap a little of what happened last season. Last season, there's this family that Griffin and his family, they moved into a hotel, and then the hotel's supposed to be haunted. They don't believe it, but the twins, they start to see some weird, freaky stuff happen. So they tell Topher. At some point, Harper is Topher's sister. Her and Griffin become friends. They find a bunker. Every time they go down into the bunker and they get out of it, they are transported 30 years into the past. And so, like, I think it's 8. No, is it? No. I think it's 60 years. No, it's 30. 30. Okay. So they transport 30 years into the past. So they're in the 1980s. And there they meet the supposed ghost girl named Savannah. She was actually back in the day. They try to save her. She ends up missing. See, it turned out they thought she was kidnapped. Because that's what the whole legend was about. This girl at camp disappeared, kidnapped, stuff like that. Didn't happen. They realized she found out about the bunker, went back in time to the 1960s. Or maybe it's every 20 years. Yeah, 80, 60, yeah, okay, it's every 20, no? Let's just say 20 for now. 20 to 30-ish years, right? So she went back in the 1960s. She's in 1962. That's where she disappeared from. So she's not a ghost and all this other stuff, and she was never kidnapped. Then when they all down in the bunker and everything, because their family doesn't want them hanging out, something happens where they go back in time, but they go back the wrong way, and they end up in the 1930s. The camp is no longer there. The hotel is a farmhouse that's owned by Harper's family. And then when they're in there, they see a person rocking in a chair, and they see a person who looks just like Harper, but she's dressed back in the 1930s. They're shocked and surprised, and it ends on a cliffhanger. So the episode starts, and the kids are still freaked out by this identical person who looks like Harper. And we hear a man in the background. He's all like, "Daisy, is that you?" They get scared and they bolt on out of there. They run past a little boy. This little boy is named Sam. He is Daisy's brother. Yes, the person who looks like Harper. It is not her. So any speculations you had that for whatever reason Harper went back in time, got stuck there, and lived in the 1930s, that's not her. That is her great-grandmother, Harper. So they run back to the bunker, all three kids. Daisy tells Sam, "That girl looked just like me." And then so Sam got curious and he ran after them. Soon, okay, you see the bunker in the yard. As soon as they go down in there and close the door, the bunker door disappears. Sam does not see that, but he sees a charm bracelet with a star on there. I think it would have been so much cooler if that was Harper back in the 1930s and something happened. That's just my opinion, but hey, whatever. So, like, the kids are down in the bunker, and they're trying to realize, why did that girl look like Harper? And so Harper, out of the top of her mind, is like, oh, it must be my grandmother and everything, because he heard that man call her Daisy. I mean, she came up with that assumption very quickly. Daisy could have been anybody, but hey, whatever. It's only a 20-minute episode. They had to rush through it, you know. So Savannah tells them she has to head back to the 1960s and start camp, because the first day is going to open. And so she's going to be a camp counselor. So the other two kids go back to their time. And so one creepy, eerie thing that's really interesting that happens is Griffin's mom, Sarah, she's walking through the halls very slowly, and you hear the music shift. It's more like a wind type noise, kind of creepy, kind of eerie. And you hear a woman humming Amazing Grace. And so she hears this and she's a little weirded out. So she constantly walking slower, passing like each room as the humming is getting like louder. And then all of a sudden we see underneath the door the shadow of a rocking chair, and we hear the rocking chair, and it's going back and forth. This is that famous rocking chair from the first season that kept on moving by itself. And so it's like, is somebody in Griffin's room? So she goes in there and the music stops and the rocking chair is completely still. She has no idea what just happened. So when she meets with the rest of the family, talking to her husband who spooked her, she's talking to the kids, and the twins are telling, let's see, Zoe and somebody else. I forgot his name. I want to say Sawyer, but I don't think so. So the twins, they tell their parents that some ghost wrote on the mirror, said the word no when they asked it a question. The mom was all like, I don't want to hear this. There are no such thing as ghosts. We're getting rid of that mirror. They tried to beg, but she is not having it. So Griffin and them, they put the mirror down in like the basement. So realizing that this woman might be her like relative, but she don't know how, she goes and talks to her mom, Harper does. And so when she's talking to Jennifer, she's asking about like, you know, her father and her father's like side of the family. It's been a while since I saw the first season. I know she traveled back in time to meet her father. I guess whatever happened, she didn't change time to where he's alive. So, you know, so that sucks for that. And so like, and her mom is kind of reluctant, doesn't really want to talk about the family history, wants to know why her daughter is asking, but she's all like, your grandmother saved everything, like, you know, in this trunk. So her mom leaves, and then when Harper opens the trunk, we don't know what's inside it, but she's shocked and amazed. And so, like, Harper and Griffin parents, they finally made up to where they're cordial now when they meet and everything. And like I said before, we hear the mom keep mentioning Topher, this and that, but we don't see him. But he has been replaced, recast and everything. So Griffin, he decides he's going to go down in the basement and try to talk to the mirror. Because he's hoping that whatever ghost, you know, it is will, like, speak to him. So, like, he's like banging on a mirror, he's talking to it, nothing. Then he gets a call from Harper. Harper's all like, she found a trunk with all her grandmother's stuff, and that girl they saw is her great grandmother named Daisy. And she's all like, you know, there's some things I have to show you because you won't believe what I found in this trunk. Well, Griffin's all like, you better get over here now, because what happened? A ghost wrote on the mirror, go back. So they know they have to go back to the 1930s and see what's going on. Now, Savannah is back in 1962, and, you know, she's getting ready for camp. And so she's having fun because she gets to creep out the campers, since she's a camp counselor now, about the Moss Man, this old legend and stuff. I don't recall the Moss Man legend from season 1, but hey, whatever. And so the kids get creeped out when they hear a noise in the wood. Savannah goes to investigate. She can't find nothing. The music gets creepy and eerier. And then all she sees are these muddy footsteps made in, like, the mud and stuff. So at some point when she goes back to the hotel, she is supposed to go down in the basement to do something. Now, Harper and Griffin had decided that they're going to come up with, like, letters to keep in touch with each other, and they're going to put it somewhere, not the treehouse, because too many people know about that. So they found another location. I don't know why they just didn't use the basement. But anyways, so she's down in the basement, and a man comes in there. For some reason, she gets scared and creeped out, and she runs and hides. And all you see is his shoes. You don't see his face or nothing like that. And his shoes got tons of mud. He was the man who made the footsteps in there. And when he leaves, she saw that something fell off his shoe. It's moss. She assumes he is the Moss Man. So somehow he is connected to the legend of the Moss Man. Chances are it's probably not going to be that eerie, because this show loves misdirection and red herring. So it probably won't be nothing creepy or scary. But wait until they go to the 1930s. So as Griffin is down below trying to find clothes that can kind of resemble the 1930s, you see his modern day t-shirt underneath. Harper comes in with a wedding dress, a probably 60s, 50s or something like that. So wedding dress. He is shocked and amazed, and he gives her the look. He is now starting to crush on Harper. And so, you knew that eventually was going to happen. This is TV. I mean, come on now. The two leads are always in love with each other. And so, like, they go back into the 1930s. And before they go, she tells him that somebody in the 1930s found her charm bracelet and kept it all those years that she left back there. So they go and they're walking through the woods, and then all of a sudden they see a woman. She is like in like a lake, the spring lake, whatever you call it, and she's humming Amazing Grace, and she's looking for something. She's throwing rocks into a giant boulder into like the lake, trying to find something. They don't know who this woman is or what she's looking for. So then they go back to the farmhouse, the one the Harper family owned back in the 1930s. They're spying on the family eating dinner. The man is Eliza. He is the father, the great-great-great-grandfather of Harper. Sam is the little brother to Daisy. And the little boy is all like, them kids just disappeared out of nowhere. And I think they're like aliens from outer space. And Daisy thinks he's dumb for believing that, but he's all like, look what I found. It's a bracelet with a star on it that could have came from outer space. Now, you gotta remember, back in those days, they believed in that stuff. And so, like, well, so does Demi Lovato. So people still believe in that stuff. But here's the interesting thing about Daisy. she has a book on space and time. So she's interested in that stuff too. And so like the dad's talking about like something about like the spring waters, and like, mom was interested in that stuff, and people's always interested in our spring waters, but they need to just like leave them alone. So there's something interesting going on with that spring water. So then the kids run again because Daisy almost sees them. And so like they head back to like their time. But before they do, they see a grave site. And they're very like a tombstone. And they're very shocked and surprised by the tombstone. It turns out it was what is it? Her great-great-grandmother tombstone. Now this was the woman at the lake spring. When they look at the house, this is before they go back home. When they look at the house, there's a woman, the same woman from the springs, right? And she's in the window and she's staring at the kids with a very creepy look on her face. She is very disturbed. And then all of a sudden, she bangs on the window and she screeches like a screeching, like horrifying scream. And she vanishes out of thin air. And then they realize she was the ghost that wanted them to go back in time. So what is this mystery about? This is really interesting. They, like what I said before, when they creeped up the creep factor in this show. Oh, they creeped up the creep factor in this show. It is now worthy of being parallel to that of So Weird. Now, they had a trailer for the next episode, but they don't really show, well, I can't watch the next episode, but wow, man, like, so turns out Little Sam, he's trying to build a time machine out in the woods. I wonder, could it be the bunker? Somehow, Daisy found the bunker, and she goes into the future, and she's in the hotel, and the kids are in the hotel. And all of a sudden, Jennifer comes in the hotel as all three of them in there. So she's going to see an identical Harper. So no telling what's going to happen there. Savannah goes and she speaks with Harper and Griffin about the Moss Man and everything. I cannot wait to see the rest. I hope this season pays off. Last season, it did pay off. Just not the way I thought it was. So I was thinking this girl really did get kidnapped and Disney really went there. But it just turned out she just traveled through time. So that was kind of an interesting twist. But yeah, I really wonder now what's really going to happen with this whole ghost. They finally acknowledged, hey, there is indeed a ghost and everything. I always assumed it was somebody in the past writing on the mirror and somehow it just went like, into the future and stuff. But no, there's an actual ghost now and stuff. And it's so interesting. Like, what in the world happened? It's going to be a long time before I see this show. But, ooh, I can't wait. Alrighty, well, I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.